Today we're going to make a 1950s recipe for Chop Suey from Woolworths. So Woolworths was a little lunch counter in a lot of small towns and even in some big towns. So what I have here is I have about 1.5 pounds of beef. You can use beef or pork or a combination thereof. And I've taken some flour and I'm going to coat these in flour. The original recipe calls for the use of a pressure cooker, and since I blew my stovetop pressure cooker up, I now have this instant pot. It also calls for lard, and instead of lard, I'm going to put a little bit of vegetable oil in here. I've had this on saute heating up a little bit, and what I'm going to do is in batches, I'm going to brown this meat. You can see it's starting to brown a little bit. I'm going to flip these over. Now to the meat, I'm going to add just the juice of one of these La Choy Chop Suey vegetables. For right now, we'll add the rest of this at the end of cooking. I think the original recipe called for 8 ounces of mushrooms, but I don't have 8, I just have 4, so we'll add the juice from these as well. And something that's really important to do right now before we continue cooking is to just kind of use this to scrape up any stuff that's on the bottom of this pot. And there's a little bit, but not much. You just want to make sure to get all of that up so that the pressure cooker doesn't error out thinking that you burned your food. To that pot, I'm going to add 3 cups of sliced celery and an onion. I suppose there's maybe a cup of onion in there. The recipe calls for 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, which I'll add here. This is just a brand of soy sauce that was widely available at the time. You know, use whatever you like, but this was widely available even in small towns. Then we need to add a little bit of molasses. I think the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons, but I don't have the patience to measure that, so we'll go 1, 2, and that's about as good as I can get there. Now I'll add just a little bit of ground black pepper, not too much, certainly less than a teaspoonful. Now I'm going to add something that wasn't in the original recipe. I'm going to add a little diced red pepper, a little garlic, and a little bit of ginger. And this probably wasn't in the original recipe because back then finding this reliably in a grocery store would have been very difficult. Even when I was a kid, getting an orange in your Christmas stocking was quite a treat because that sort of thing wasn't in the grocery store when it wasn't in season. I'm also adding a healthy squirt of ketchup because ketchup makes everything better, and knowing the 1950s, probably just about everybody added that. Now we'll give everything a good stir, make sure everything is well combined and distributed. Now we'll put the lid on. And there's a little steam valve on the top here that you're going to want to put to pressure. And we will set this to pressure cook for, let's say 15 minutes. And after it's done pressure cooking, I'm just going to let it come back to regular pressure naturally rather than releasing it. Okay, let's see what we got here. Yeah, it's done. So now we'll add in our mixed vegetables and we'll add in our mushrooms and we'll give everything a nice stir here. And looking good, looking good. So now what we'll do, now that this is all heated through like so, I'm going to let it sit just a few minutes and then we'll plate it. To plate this, we need some chow mein noodles, which I'll put down like so, a little bed. Add a little crispy. And then on top, I'll put a little cooked rice. Spread it out just a little bit. And then we'll add our chow mein to the top, like so. And that's it.